talk about control through the zodiac. This topic of how would you see signs of control within certain signs? Now, of course, when you think of signs that are controlling, you tend to think of main signs that are associated with control, right? You might think, well, Capricorn can be controlling. You might say that Scorpio can be controlling. You may say Leo can be controlling. Those would probably be the top signs that people think of at first. But if we look at it, there are different things that people, despite zodiac sign, want to control. And typically in your own life, there's something you seek to control as well, right? And maybe it's not people. Maybe you're the person that controls the household and you like to control what it looks like. You don't like people moving things here or there, right? Maybe you're someone who's like really calm person, but at work, you like to, you know, make the plans for how things are going to go, right? So I don't think this topic of control is always super bad unless you're trying to control another human being, of course, because that is obviously morally wrong. And at the end of the day, sometimes we need people to take control, right? Sometimes it's like things are chaotic, things are in array, and we need someone who knows what they're doing. So there are different ways to look at this. However, typically when we look at this word, it is not positive. We do not have positive feelings towards the topic of control. And it is a game for some people, which is why, you know, we have this image here of this game controller, and we also have the die here, right? So let's jump into this. So Aries. Aries' way of doing of being controlling is just doing. I'm not going to wait to hear your answer. I'm not going to wait for your permission. You know, the phrase "it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission" is probably made by an Aries person. Aries is not waiting for your answer. Now, if you have a very well balanced, considerate Aries person, they will ask you, but at the end of the day, they want to do what they want to do. And when a person with Aries traits does want to control a situation, they're going to just take action. They're going to do it. And sometimes that can be frustrating to people who want, like, hey, I wanted to have a say in that. You know, it's the couple where one parent went out and bought the 17-year-old a car. And the other parent's like, that's way too expensive, right? Or why didn't we make this decision together? And sometimes Aries does things thinking that it's doing the best for other people. I say that a lot about fire signs. Sometimes fire signs make decisions for people that those folks may not have asked for. So that is something just to keep in mind there. But Aries controls situations by saying, oh, well, I don't care what you're going to say. I'm going to do it anyway, right? And again, we're talking about a situation where a person would want to be controlling. Not that all Aries individuals are controlling. So that is typically what Aries will do, or kind of sometimes in an extreme way, bully their way through. And Aries that wants to be controlling will bully their way through something and just take control, right? You know, we're just going to do it my way. You know, no, we tried it that way. I'm just going to do it the way I want to. And so that's that's a clear way of asserting control. Aries control is not really hidden. Now, could you have a person that has, you know, other traits and placements where maybe they are a little bit more under the surface, they are a little bit more strategic with things, for of course, but as a pure energy, Aries is not shy with telling you and showing you, I'm doing this. It's going to happen my way. And there can be times where an Aries person is right. It's, you know, but it's going to be a very brash way in which a person controls. It's not going to be a question. Oh, are they trying to take over? No, you see it. You're going to see it. That's Aries energy. You see it, you feel it, it's in your face, and that's just what it is, right? So that's how Aries will seek control in situations, is by doing something, taking over. And that, again, that can have negative consequences when other people are not considered throughout that process. Taurus's way of controlling people can sometimes be through objects, through possessions, through dangling a carrot over people. Well, you can get this if you do this. Again, we are talking about a person who is seeking control. We're not talking about each sign being like this. So what you could see with the Taurus person, an example would be like let's say it's a grandparent, and the grandparent plays favorites among the grandchildren, and the grandparent is wealthy, has a decent amount of money, and they play favorites based on whoever does what they want, right? Oh, yes, so-and-so's going to college and majoring in such, and that's such a great decision. Or such and such, you know, maybe the grandchild that is the most compliant right? Whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying, this would be all Taurus grandparents. I'm just giving you an example of what that could look like. Taurus is not going to have the same way in which it controls like Aries or Cancer or, Virgo. Taurus is going to do it through possessions, either through withholding things from people. You know what? And you know what? You're not getting that now. Okay. And sometimes a person doesn't deserve it, but they could do it in ways to seek control over people. Like someone does one thing you didn't like, and now you're taking something back. That's a very Taurus thing. I'm going to take it back because Taurus has more of that connection to the physical items, material possessions. And sometimes it's good when it's a sentimental reason. Sometimes Taurus holds on to things for good reasons. So we're not saying that it's bad to have that attachment. We all have attachment to some material object. It doesn't mean it's money and jewels. Maybe a teddy bear you had since you were 3. It could be your grandmom's necklace. It could be your mom's, favorite hat, or whatever the case may be. So Taurus's way of control is usually going to be through taking something. I'm going to take something from you, or I'm not going to give you something because you didn't follow through on what I want you to do, or you're not doing it the way that I want you to do. So you're not going to have this anymore, right? So with Taurus, it's typically going to be through that, finding ways in which to not give people certain things or to show preferential treatment. You can see this sometimes in parents who've decided one child is the golden child, and they give the child more. Now, and the child is not deserving of it. Because you could say, well, wait a minute, if one child is just more responsible financially, that could be why they get more help versus the one who spends it on parties, right? Like that, could go case by case. But through Taurus, it's going to usually be through items. Now with Gemini, this is going to be through mind games. It can be through you thinking one thing, but then them keeping you in a state of confusion. Again, this is only if a Gemini person chooses to control you. If a Gemini person is compassionate and sweet and kind-hearted, I know some Geminis that are just real thorough. They're not playing games with people's minds. I know that. They are Geminis because they have other Gemini traits. So I'm not saying this is every sign, of course, but at the extreme, you're gonna think that you're going crazy. Wait, didn't that person just tell me this? Now, if you're quick and you can pick up on things, you're going to see through it. But a lot of times, Gemini is so good with talking. They're so good. Like, by the time you question them and you get to the end of the conversation, you now are talking about something completely different. When Gemini wants to distract you, Gemini's, look, anybody can be intelligent. There are certain signs more associated with the mind. It just is what it is. It doesn't mean you're not intelligent if you're not a sign that's ruled by Mercury or a sign that is air. But those are signs that have to do with the mind. They're constantly exercising their mind. And so maybe you're not one of those signs, but maybe your Mercury is in one of those signs, or you have heavy energy and houses associated with the mind. Okay. The point that I'm making is Gemini is highly intelligent. They know what they know. They know. They're not confused, but they can make you confused. So their level of control is not going to be brashly taking something from you. It's not going to be yelling at you necessarily, but it's going to be through mind games, manipulation. Sometimes they'll let you get caught up with a Gemini with Scorpio energy. Okay, don't get caught up with that, because that could be a very interesting energy. A person who's like maybe a Gemini moon, Scorpio sun. Not that that's a bad placement. I know someone with that placement who's a really great person, very genuine. But you could have again, everything's about the chart and how everything lines up in the degrees. Maybe the person's a Scorpio rising, Gemini sun, right? And then we can take a look at where other placements are. So that's going to be through mind control. It's going to be through mental games. It's going to be through keeping you confused so that you don't know what to think. And doing it with a smile on their face sometimes as well. Okay. The mastermind behind something. You didn't even know it was them the whole time. Now, Cancer. Cancer's way of controlling people, of course, surprise, surprise, is going to be through the emotions, but not how you would think. It is not necessarily going to be, for some people, they're trying to elicit a response from you. They are going to try to make you uncomfortable. Cancer is going to storm through the house, stomping their feet. especially if it's a Cancer child. You can have Cancer individuals where it's like, whoa, something's different today. Wow, usually they stop and give me a coffee on the way home, on the way to work. Your work friend does this, and today they didn't do it. And they haven't come stop by my desk. Cancer, when it wants to control someone, it wants that response. Cancer might not always be the most transparent sign in terms of telling you what's on their mind, telling you what you think, or telling you what they think, right? But Cancer way of controlling you is going to be through trying to cause an emotional reaction in you so that way you ask them what's wrong. Because sometimes there's a lack of being direct. And some people can do this that have Cancer energy. And again, we would have to look at their chart, because if you have a Cancer person, you could have some that are really direct, right? Maybe they just say what's on their mind. They say it straight out. And, the chart would explain that. But when Cancer wants to control something, it is going to be, I want you to feel this. You're going to feel different because the way I'm choosing to act around you. So, it's going to look different than it would for another sign where it's more obvious. You're going to look at what Cancer usually does to make themselves feel comfortable. They no longer do it. So whether that's in a relationship, a friendship, any type of association, they just stop, right? This person's mad at you. They stopped donating to your fund or whatever because something happened, right? Or you're going to notice, like, when Cancer stops doing something that was a symbol of your relationship, your friendship, whether your family, maybe you're in a marriage or whatever, maybe you're just associates, maybe it's your cousin, whatever the case is, your friend, whoever, sibling, whatever you are to someone, when they stop doing certain things, that is the way in which they're trying to control your emotions, because they want you to feel how they're feeling. But it's like, it's not enough to tell somebody, is it? We could tell people something, and yes, some people respond, but some people, they're like, no, I'm going to give them a dose of their own medicine, right? I'm not even going to bother doing the things that I used to do. And why does it bother people? A Cancer person who it actually likes you makes you feel good about yourself. Cancer energy, when it is well balanced and happy, Cancer just can make you, like, a lot of people forget this. Cancer can make you feel like one of the most important people in the world, because Cancer remembers things about you. They're doing little nice things for you. Oh, I thought about you when I was in the store and I picked up one of these mugs because I knew you said that you like Star Wars. Like, Cancer can be a great person to have around. But again, when they need to control something, it's going to be through sometimes things that are very underhanded, not being direct, moving in ways that are kind of suspect, right? Cancer is trying to elicit a response in you in order to control you in that situation. Leo plays power games. Leo is playing power moves. Whatever that Leo, and again, doesn't have to be the sun. Leo placements that are enhanced. So if a person has an enhanced Leo placement in a very predominant place in the chart, on the, ascendant, midheaven, in a personal planet, Leo's way of trying to control is going to be through, I have the power. So whatever that person has power over, yep, that's how they're going to do it. To the extreme. No, I don't think every Leo would do this, but to the extreme. Every trait that's human can be found in every sign. And that's what I want people to understand. So, with that said, Leo might do something like, oh, okay, yeah. All right, so this person, I don't like how the relationship is going. They went on a vacation without me. That's really messed up. And you know what? I'm changing the locks. No, I don't think every Leo would do that. I'm just giving you an example. Because that fire is going to be on you. You can tell when fire is trying to control you. Fire doesn't, it's relentless. I have something this person wants. So I'm going to play games until they respect me that in the way that I want them to, right? Leo is like, you know what? I have some influence on this situation, but I'm not going to help this person out, right? I'm going to, oh, yep. So Leo's like, you know what? I could help my brother out, he's falling behind on some bills, but you know what? He does not, show any excitement for what I have going on in my life. Or you know what? We argue a lot and he doesn't listen and respect me. You know, that's a big thing with Leo and Capricorn's respect, but with Leo, it's more this kind of need for validation and this level of attention sometimes that's needed. And so Leo is going to do things that show power moves. I'm going to withhold something from you, kind of like Taurus. But remember, Leo is fire, so it's going to be more of a dramatic move, right? It's like it's Taurus could be like, "Hey, I have this thing, you can't have it," but Leo, when it wants to control you, is going to really be egotistical as well, make something all about them. It's hard to break through when Leo is trying to control a situation because Leo is going to go full through. Leo is a very competitive sign. And so that's another thing as well, is there's a competition type of situation going on sometimes as well, where they can get too caught up in trying to win something, especially in a relationship that's not a game, right? It's, I'm a one up you. Okay, you did this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be more extreme than you are, because Leo energy is like, when it's upset, remember, this is the line. When it is upset, it is going to do something that can have effects. It could be a couple is going through a divorce, and that Leo person is pulling out all the stops. Well, I want this back, and I want this back. And you're not getting this, and you're not getting that. That Leo, it's not, listen, at its worst, Leo can be a selfish sign when it feels its pride is hurt. Because Leo can also be very generous. I've seen it and I've experienced it. But that's just one thing to keep in mind. Virgo. Virgo's way of control, again, this is a Mercury ruled sign. This is going to be through the mind. Virgo's way of controlling a situation is definitely going to be in getting people caught up in the details, in the in the in the weeds of things. Virgo's way of trying to control a situation is going to sometimes be more covert, but also at the same time, it's going to be something that requires you to really understand what they're trying to do. Virgo has a really interesting way of taking information and then withholding it until it's time to let it out. Virgo is keeping track of everything. You're wondering, why is this Virgo? They're quiet, they're unassuming, but they're at work listening to everything. They hear everything you say. So let's say you get on a Virgo's bad side for some reason, and this is a Virgo that wants revenge, or this is a Virgo that does tend to want control for whatever reason. Virgo is going to use information against you. Gemini, the other Mercury sign, is going to keep the information so distorted sometimes you don't even know what the truth is, and you start to question yourself. Virgo takes things that could be minute and can. Now, it depends on what else the Virgo has in their chart. If Virgo has fire in their chart, they're going to blow up anything minute and can make it whatever they want it to be. It's going to be obvious that the Virgo's trying to be controlling. Now, to say this, as a Virgo, I know some of these things, of course, but I've seen this in another Virgo before. And of course, I can pick up on things because, one, I'm already Virgo. I see what someone's doing. Also, I'm very, I'm intuitive, cautious. Like, the situation, the person was clearly had a plan, but the way that they said something made it seem so innocent, but it really was something bigger, because Virgo's going to build something up until they're sure. Because remember, Virgo is a skeptic. Virgo has to analyze things. So this is not going to be a sign that tells you up front. You might not even see the controlling nature of Virgo at first. It's not a sign that seems that confrontational, right? So the biggest thing about Virgo is the mind games are escalated to something that is now used sometimes against you. Virgo remembers something minute, and all of a sudden it's now blown up. And it's like, why are we arguing about this? Because they've been keeping track of everything. And Virgo can and will use everything against you to get you where they want to get you, right? And sometimes with that energy, it's important to not underestimate the potential of some people to use certain things that they understand or know against you. Virgo also can control specific things. I'm just might go on a tangent on Virgo. I'm a Virgo. I know it. And because I'm a Virgo, I've seen, I pay attention to Virgo people and the different signs within a person's chart. Try to control certain things that don't need to be controlled. And I said this in one of my other videos. Sometimes Virgo tries to control things because it's easier than trying to deal with emotions or deal with other, feelings. The Virgo aunt, oh, put this here. You need to do it like this. Oh, no, you need to fix it like this. So sometimes Virgo will try to control small things to get control over you. Oh, oh, can you just do that one little thing? Oh, can you? Oh, yes. Can you put a little bit more cinnamon on my latte? Like, right? Like Virgo trying to control people sometimes through small things that are so insignificant, right? That it's like, why are you asking for this? Now, don't get me wrong. Virgo has reasons why. Typically, Virgo has reasons why they're so specific about certain things. Like, there's usually a reason, a rationale behind it. Not the cinnamon thing, but like other things. They're like, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah. Now, Libra. Libra will control you by making you think you're wrong and you're the bad guy. Libra rarely, I mean, even if you look at some of these Libra celebrities and look at like some of them. Now, it depends on what else is in the chart. You can have one that's a little bit more truthful if there's Sag in the chart, perhaps a little bit more introspective if there's Scorpio on the chart, perhaps. But Libra sometimes can just fears being the bad guy. So sometimes there's manipulation involved, though. And so what the manipulation will be is I can't bear to be the person who ruined this relationship. I can't bear to be the bad parent, or I can't bear to be the bad friend. So I'm going to turn this around on someone else to make it look like it's their fault because I did everything I could. I did everything right. Libra goes in panic mode when someone they feel is discrediting their reputation. Libra's going to go in panic mode. What Libra's going to do is Libra's going to try to get other people on their side. Libra can sometimes go tit for tat. And though Libra can be a great, I do like Libra energy. I know some great Libra people, but when we're talking about control, the individual is always going to try to make it seem like there's something you should have did better. You're not being fair. That's a line a Libra kid might even say. You're not being fair. And even when you break down the situation, there tends to be this obsession with fairness, even in situations when they're not correct. Libra is not a sign that is in touch with their emotions. This is a sign that is in touch with this kind of, remember, I keep telling you about these air signs. Air signs can play mind games when they want to. And a lot of, people fall for the smiles of Libra. Libra can be very charming. Libra can, a lot of Libra have a nice aesthetic, a nice look to them. But that is something that you have to understand. Libra will control you also control you through being sweet, through being nice. You know you should be mad at that person, but they don't want to talk about the issue. Come on, let's go out. Let's go do this. Let me buy you a gift. Hey, let's hang out like we used to. Libra wants to get your mind off the problem in order to make things smooth the way they're used to it. So when Libra wants to control, it's not going to look like Aries. No, it's not going to look like, Capricorn. Libra, it's going to look like, they want you back on their side. So sometimes Libra will not even address the issue, right? Let's just move on to where we were. We don't need to talk about that. So sometimes they'll overdo their actions in order to take the focus off what they are doing that is not correct. Self-reflection is not, I wouldn't say that's a strong suit of Libra unless we have other energy within the chart. Now, I know I just talked about control of Virgo, but if a Libra has Virgo placements, Virgo energy, Pisces energy, what other signs are pretty good with that? Any sign that allows for there to be a level of really diving deeper and really understanding self in a way that is authentic to them, you can have that. Even Taurus, maybe. Like if someone has maybe it's a Libra with a Taurus moon, perhaps. So that's just one thing to keep in mind with Libra. Yeah, the control, it's you're going to think that it's not control, but it is when they are refusing to deal with what you want to deal with. They're refusing to acknowledge the problem that you want to talk about. They're running from conflict, thinking that you'll forget about it, and think that they can ease their way back into your good graces. Scorpio. Well, Scorpio, it's kind of definitely, a sign that people might sometimes think of with this topic here. The Scorpio sense of control is going to be through, while Taurus can withhold material possessions, giving you something, Scorpio can a lot of times withhold emotions, give even like petty stuff, like giving emotions to other people and not you. You know, let's say someone has a Scorpio parent, it's very clear who their favorite is, right? Because this one doesn't listen to me. This one doesn't do exactly what I want them to do when I want them to do it. And I haven't, as a parent, figured out how to parent each of my children the way that they need. And so I'm just going to only reserve my dedication to this one child, right? Or whoever they feel does what they say is who is favored. Maybe it's a boss at the workplace. This person listens to me. They don't question me, because Scorpio can feel uncomfortable being questioned. Now, that can differ. If you have a moon in Gemini, Scorpio, they're a little bit more open with talking about certain things, but Scorpio doesn't. Scorpio has a plan of something. They don't like being questioned because it makes them uncomfortable that they now have to dive deeper into what they're doing. Scorpio becomes so attached to something, it can be very difficult to navigate and change directions, holding on to people, situations they no longer need, for example. And so Scorpio's way of control also might be through intentionally doing something that's spiteful to hurt you. Especially remember, Cancer, I feel like I said, they want you to feel what they're feeling. But Scorpio, remember, this is Mars and Pluto coming together. And so a Scorpio that wants to control you in a way that is deep. I'm going to hit your pockets, right? A Scorpio who's mad at someone, like I'm going to sue you. Scorpio, eighth house, you know what the eighth house is about sometimes. It could be a person that's like, oh yeah, okay, you're gonna the person's like, oh yeah, you cheated with this person, well, I'm gonna cheat with your family member or your friend. Not saying all Scorpios would do that, but that's an example. When Scorpio wants to control a situation, they're looking to in some way enact a level of deep, um I would say revenge, but they want to control the situation in a way in which they now feel that they are in control. They have to be in control. So they're going to take opportunities to show you that you are not the one who is in control. So when Scorpio is trying to do this, you're going to see it, right? Because they are going to show and do things kind of like Aries, which is Mars. Like Scorpio can be a little bit more covert though. So it's not always going to be obvious what the Scorpio is up to. But it's like there's also a level of patience with Scorpio. They can wait until they strike, or they can wait. But typically the way in which they seek to control situations is I'm withholding something from you. Or I'm giving this to this person, but not you, right? Scorpio, and it's like a lot of times you have to understand that with this energy here, this already is a sign that can be very, very struggle a lot with vulnerability. And so through Scorpio, it can be through, I'm going to take away my sense of my insecurity with my vulnerability, and I'm going to then enact something on you to make you feel the way that I know that I'm feeling about myself. So Scorpio, if it's like a deep hurt, it takes a lot to get to Scorpio, but Scorpio is going to do things, and sometimes you question your own sanity. Did they do that on purpose? Right? Because Scorpio's not announcing it necessarily, but they're going to make sure that you find out. And they're going to make sure that you feel that sense of rejection, or you feel that sense of them trying to kind of manipulate the way you feel. But again, it's different than a Cancer energy. Sometimes all Cancer wants is for you to ask what's wrong. Cancer just wants you to fix it, make them feel comfortable again. Scorpio is, oh, you broke my trust now, right? And so even in situations where no one has done anything to the Scorpio, Scorpio wants to control situations so that they feel like they have an understanding of what's going to happen next, because there is a fear of yielding to something and not gaining anything back. So if I think I'm not going to gain anything back from something, then I'm needing to take control over it, which can really hurt relationships with other people. Scorpio tries to control, it can be through like, everyone has to face my wrath. A controlling Scorpio, everybody in this house is going to know I'm mad. Everybody's going to feel this. Everybody's going to know that I'm upset. Everybody's going to, right? Like it can be a brooding energy where there's a feeling of everyone has to in some way indulge in my own misery. Everyone has to indulge in what I'm feeling at this moment. So because of that, I now need to enact on this on someone else. So it can be a lot of manipulation. The way Scorpio controls people can be through, they're trying to imprint something on you. It's rarely, I'm going to get revenge on you and that's going to be it. Or I'm going to bet, I'm going to, slash your tires and run off. It usually is a more of an emotional thing that they need to control within the person, or they need, it sometimes it's a cover up for the fear of attachment, or the fear that if I don't control this person, then they'll leave me, or if I don't control this situation, it's going to get out of control and I can't do anything with it anymore. Now, Sagittarius. Sagittarius can be controlling when it thinks it's the only one that knows something. Sagittarius can be controlling in speech. Sagittarius can be very convincing and controlling in terms of beliefs. The extreme can be the Sagittarius person that wants to imprint what they believe on everybody, or Sagittarius energy individual. Doesn't mean it's the sun. The family member who wants everybody to be religious. The family member who does not accept that somebody in the family has a different religious belief. Sagittarius inability to understand that that other people's views and experiences can be just as valued. Now, I typically see that Sagittarius can be very open to other people's experiences, but we're talking about control. When Sagittarius wants to control something, they also can control the truth. They can exaggerate at times. They can control the narrative. Because Sagittarius is such a great storyteller, sometimes you got to be careful, because when they want to control something, there usually is a nugget of truth in what they're saying. So if you're trying to prove to Sagittarius that you're right, or you're in any type of disagreement, they are going to say something that is right. But sometimes they're going to add things to it. Oh, you always do this, or you always did that. And I bet you did this because of that, right? Sagittarius can jump to conclusions sometimes, especially, if there's certain placements in the chart. What else? Sagittarius can overtalk people. That's another way to control. A Sagittarius may believe their thoughts are the only ones that are important. And sometimes you can have a Sagittarius, a conversation, and leave it like, but I didn't say everything I wanted to say. A really intelligent Sagittarius person can guide that conversation. And at the end, it's going to be what they want it to be. And you might be like, yeah, I didn't get to say my piece, right? Because it can be a very overbearing nature sometimes in terms of thought. And especially because we know that Sagittarius it has these positive traits, sometimes the optimism. It can be very moral energy. It's about beliefs and knowledge, which is great. But the other side of that can also be very morally righteous, demeaning other people's morality, demeaning other people's choices. Once in a while you do get a Sagittarius person who is more on that, I'm better because I have better morals than you. Now it's not, I'm not matching Sag, I'm a Sag moon. And typically, not everybody's trying to impose on people, but Sagittarius, that's why it can be a cult leader, right? Like Sagittarius energy or ninth house placements, like, because Sagittarius's way with words is not just about speaking, it's also about the fire and the conviction in what they're saying. And so you buy into it. And so that's one thing to keep in mind is like, understanding sometimes in situations, you might have to listen very carefully to what Sagittarius is saying. There could be something that they're not telling you, though it is a sign of truth. When it's trying to control a narrative, it's smart enough to know what to leave out. It's big picture. I'm going to tell you what happened. This is why me and her aren't talking. But again, there can be ways in which they're manipulating the truth, or there's a way in which they're trying to, also some at extreme levels, can control through gossip. Gemini can as well. But Gemini just can sometimes tell other people's business that they're not supposed to tell. And it's just, this is what happened. With Sag, remember, Sag is truth, but depending on other placements, you can, let's say you have a person, especially with Gemini, Sag oppositions in the chart, sometimes can get exaggerations, withholding the truth. Yeah, you told what happened, but you didn't tell everything because you want to look good. And sometimes using people's truth against them. Like Sagittarius can definitely bring something up in a situation or argument that's irrelevant. Right? And it can hit below the belt sometimes. Capricorn. So Capricorn controls through restriction. Capricorn controls through, I'm now going to, I look at Capricorn, it's like, the way it chooses to control would feel like a mixture between Leo and Taurus. Because Leo is a power move and Taurus is, I'm taking something, I'm not going to give you something, right? But with Capricorn, it's, I'm limiting you from something. You haven't done this. Like, it's like the boss at work. Because two people are behind in their work, well, everyone, I need you to work an extra hour, or I need everybody in this office to do this. Because Capricorn has this innate fear sometimes that things can go haywire if they don't have everything in a specific order or structure. Okay. And that becomes an issue when Capricorn thinks it can dictate to other people what to do to make things better for them and not necessarily for the other person. Capricorn can dish out punishments. Capricorn controls through punishing people, right? I'm going to ground you, and it might be excessive. I'm going to ground you for 2 months for something minor. But you have to learn your lesson. So a lot of times Capricorn will do these things, and there is a reason behind it. They're going to tell you the reason behind it. Capricorn also control, again, through punishment. Oh, well, you did this thing, so I'm not taking you out on our anniversary. Or like these, especially when it comes to, again, similar to Leo in a way with power moves, but a little bit different. I'm going to restrict you from something that you're supposed to get. Okay, we had an argument. We're in a relationship. Well, I'm not going to call you and wish you a happy birthday. I'm going to text you and wish you a happy birthday. Now, there's nothing wrong with texting people a happy birthday, but if it's somebody you're in a relationship with and you go all day and you haven't talked to them, that's usually kind of strange, right? Capricorn controls through rules. That was the rules. Oh, well. Nope, there's no wiggle room. So at its worst, Capricorn controls through not having compassion, not having empathy, and not being able to really be flexible in situations, right? It's like everything is treated equally. It's like the teacher. So, like a teacher who has a really strict late policy, and you're like, you go to the teacher and you say, "Oh my goodness, like my papers was late yesterday. Um, my one of my relatives was in the hospital and I had to watch my little brother and all of these things, right?" And the teacher's like, "Well, I'm sorry, that's my policy." Like, the inability for Capricorn to let go for this fear of chaos can sometimes be a huge, huge issue in their development of interpersonal skills, because there's not an understanding that sometimes the rules can be broken. Now, you can have a Capricorn who has some Sag energy in their chart or some Aquarius energy in their chart, and they understand the need to not be so strict and stringent. But that's the thing with control with Capricorn. Capricorn controls through these rules, and that's why it's hard with Capricorn, because they'll say, "Well, you agreed to this." Yeah, but no, this is what it is, right? And so there's an inflexibility that makes it sometimes hard to connect. Now, Aquarius. Aquarius' sense of control can sometimes be, again, it's the air sign. It can sometimes be a bit mental. Aquarius can control you through making you doubt your own intelligence. Aquarius, some Aquarius is like the sarcasm to the next level of like, I'm going to make you feel like I'm superior to you intellectually, right? And so sometimes Aquarius' control is also this kind of mind game type of situation, especially for some people that are in toxic relationships. An unevolved Aquarius person can make you doubt your own sanity, because there is this very like logical approach to things, but it's also an approach that doesn't take compassion into place. Um, Aquarius can also control sometimes through ostracization of other people. Though Aquarius is the group and it's supposed to be open-minded, when an Aquarius wants to control a situation, they can enact the same thing that they felt. So sometimes Aquarius will be like, well, you're either with us or against us, right? So Aquarius who gets a power, especially any person who's unevolved that gets a dose of power, you get like an Aquarius individual that sometimes it controls through this level of, you have to believe in what I think. You have to appreciate what I'm thinking, because Aquarius does sometimes like to be the leader of the pack in terms of what they think. Some Aquarius energy people like being the smartest one in the group. So they're going to control through that lens. Being contrarian. Oh, somebody at the dinner table just made a really good point. Here you go. Here the Aquarius person might go. Well, what about this? But I also read about that. And so it becomes a constant mind game. And it really, it for those type of people, it excites them. It excites them to make people doubt their own thoughts. Right? But it's not personal to them. Because then they'll come right up to you. Oh yeah, let's talk. Did you see the game yesterday? And you're mad because they were at the dinner table. You really feel like they were being really sarcastic and rude to you. But now they want to talk because it wasn't personal to them, because it was a game to them, right? And so Aquarius plays these little games with people, but not understanding the connection is lost when you are intentionally sarcastic to people, when you are intentionally trying to make people feel less intelligent than you, right? So Aquarius can also sometimes be a little bit more, Aquarius can sometimes be, even unnecessarily, a little bit, mean-spirited or very sarcastic to friends. And some people can handle that and some people can't. And what will happen is Aquarius will say, well, you're too sensitive, right? But they control you through this constant need, because that's what they do in their minds. Aquarius is fixed, but Aquarius is always thinking outside the box. Aquarius energy is always trying to look at things in an alternate way. They think you should too. They think you should as well. And so for them, it's important to kind of exercise their mind in that way, but they can't use people as pawns. And sometimes Aquarius can get too caught up in using people and their conversations with others as pawns to build their own intellectual security, their own intellectual confidence, when sometimes that's just not needed. Now, Pisces. Pisces' sense of control is obviously going to be completely different than many of these other signs. Pisces is not a sign that you associate with control, but anybody can be controlling. Anybody can be anything. And it's just the zodiac sign that will tell you what the influence is or how they respond to it. Emotional, neediness. Pisces. Now, some of these Pisces people, they know what they're doing. Some people, depending on the person, will control you through they're always going to be the victim in a situation. They're always going to be the person who needs something. And if a person is a selfish Pisces, and people might say, well, wait, Pisces is compassionate. Pause. Every sign, every type of person in the universe exists having a certain sign. We would have to look at the whole chart. Of course, there are selfish Pisces people that exist, right? They might have the other traits of Pisces, but maybe they lack the compassion of others. The point being, in a situation like this, you can never win because you can never go to them for help, right? It's to keep you constantly in this codependent relationship where you're their counselor and they're the person who needs help. And so because of that, you can never truly feel like you are healed through this relationship. It's constantly this role of you taking care of this individual, you having to come to their rescue. And they control people through this. It can control people as well through not taking responsibility. And nobody's going to ask them to do certain things. You have a family full of siblings, but nobody asks her to do anything because she has made herself the victim of the family. Or maybe she's the one everyone feels bad for. And because of that, she doesn't get it. She doesn't have to help the parents who are sick. She doesn't have to help pay bills. She doesn't have to donate money for this and that. She doesn't have to buy presents because she's going through something right now, but she's always going through something. And I'm not at all saying this to be insensitive. I have other videos where I talk about the importance of like helping people and healing. Of course, I talk about all those things, but we're talking about people who are controlling. And a Pisces person who wishes to be controlling can be emotionally manipulative, and they will keep you doing the same role of running to their rescue every time. But because of this, a person never learns how to stand on their own 2 feet. This is the unevolved Pisces. We're not talking about every single Pisces. They always are going to need you to emotionally invest in them. And sometimes the sad part is it doesn't even make them happy, right? It doesn't even make them happy. You're still miserable, but you have people, and again, this is not me at all making light of serious issues, serious mental health issues people have or depression. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who've chosen to be that person. They've chosen to always need rescuing. Pisces can be very powerful, very enlightened. And I've talked about that in my own videos, my other videos. But control through the zodiac, when Pisces is trying to control you, it is going to be through an image. This could be a person doing something bad, but that image they portray to you is, I need your help. Or something happened to me, but they won't tell you the truth behind how they got themselves in a predicament, right? But they're controlling you because they can control the image, right? And so that was it for this video. Very different topic that I wanted to go over. Hope that you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed.